Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 100. What a long, strange trip it's been.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to this milestone episode. We have made 100 episodes of this show.
Oh my, it does not feel like we're 100.
No, it really doesn't.
No.
Like I remember like when we hit 21 and we're like, woohoo, we're legal.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
And time has flown by. You know, we've been seeking out new life to entertain and educate, to go where no show has gone before, but yet seeming somewhat familiar.
Yes. This just blows my mind. Honestly, I think when we started this, like we thought it'd be really cool to do, like you had been doing your podcast.
Yeah.
World Builders Anvil, which just hit 100,000 downloads.
That's interesting. Right around the time we hit our 100th episode. So
yeah.
Obviously, we have a lot more episodes with that show, but that's okay.
Right. So, but that's like crazy. So we're celebrating that, and we're also celebrating the 100th episode of Small Biz Life. And so we just kind of wanted to like take some time to kind of like reflect back, like how things have changed, not only with the show, but in our business and in our life since we started. Because we started, it was September 15th of 2015. And we're recording this on August 10th of 2017. So it's been almost 2 years since we started the show. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of go back and say, okay, you know, especially those of you that have been listening for a long time, you know, I know some of you have been listening since the beginning of the show and you guys are awesome. You guys have also been really good about telling other people about the show and please continue to do that.
Yeah, so definitely, especially with this one, let us know what we've missed because this is just from our memory, and Kristin's is pretty good, but mine is somewhat faulty. So
yeah, we didn't go back and listen to all 100 episodes. We're just kind of doing this based off of kind of, you know,
where we knew we were and where we know we are.
Yes, yeah, absolutely,
and some of the things that we remembered along the way.
Right. So, you know, but I think it's funny. So if you haven't been here since the beginning or you forgot the story. We had gone to an event related to podcast movement that they were holding in Boston. It was like a little kind of local satellite event. And when we were driving back from Boston, we live about an hour and a half from the city. And so
3 hours depending on traffic.
Well, depending on traffic, right. So we were driving down the Massachusetts Turnpike and I'm like, I really want to do a business show. I think it'd be really cool, you know, husband and wife, CPA, IT background. Like, I think it'd be really cool to do a show. And so by the time I think we bought the domain on the Mass Turnpike.
I don't remember, but that's quite possible. Just logging in via the phone and buying it. That does sound like us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we bought the domain Small Biz Life as we were driving home. And we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. We didn't know, you know, how this was all going to happen. But, you know, we agreed, you know, we liked Small Biz Life because we really like focusing on both parts of it. You know, that it's not just the work side, it's trying to get all of this together.
Yeah.
And I think we'd even kind of talked about the idea, you know, I had talked about this on payment-free life, which it's funny because I'm like a life person, right? So I had talked on payment-free life, which is another website we have, you know, kind of about like how you're juggling, right? Like I always hated the concept of balancing, and that's how we came up with the logo for this, you know, was because of that juggling.
Yeah, we don't like the term that you're juggling things because ultimately it's your choice to make decisions.
Right.
And the term juggling sounds like you can do 500 things at once. And really, we all have our limitations on what we can get done.
Well, but the thing is, the reason I like the analogy of the jugglers, because if you pick up too many balls and you're trying to juggle them all, eventually they're all going to come crashing down.
Yeah, no, your analogy of it's fine. But the idea that people can juggle everything that they want to do in their life is ridiculous because they will drop all the balls at a certain point.
Well, that's why I've kind of always thought that the work-life balance thing, if you know anybody who's doing that, let me know. I really don't know anyone who's doing it well, because it's not a balance, right? There's sometimes you're going to take more time for life. There's sometimes you're going to take more life for work, but it's not like a 50-50 balance. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how we started.
Yeah.
Right. And Jeff had done a podcast, your podcast was about a year old at that point.
I think I started early January. I kind of date it as the 1st of January, even though technically it was a little bit after that. But I created all the episodes that would have put it back to January 1st, and I launched it sometime after that.
Okay, but it was 2015 as well.
It was 2015 as well.
Okay, so you'd been podcasting for about 9 months, and then we decided to do a second show. And it's funny how much work 2 shows a week is.
Yeah,
it really is. But I think that you've done a really good job kind of getting that down, to a manageable amount.
Yeah, I would say I've probably cut the time it takes to produce an episode by about a third of what it was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Especially when I started. I mean, one episode, even when I went weekly, took a lot longer for World Builders Anvil. And then, by the time I got to Small Biz Life, I started to get that down. But then all of a sudden you have 2 and, it's different content and stuff like that. So, you definitely change and get better at doing things. But, when you have too much to do, it incentivizes you to find better ways to do things.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I think back to the format of the show that we had back then.
Changed a lot. Yeah.
We had tried to do we each had a news story, and then sometimes we had a question from a listener, and then we try to have a topic, and we're trying to fit all this stuff in an hour. And it was a lot, and I think, we always tried to name the episode after the main topic. And so I think some people came in, they're like, wait, where?
It was a bit confusing, I think, for some people.
Yeah.
And we got some of the feedback this wasn't about that.
Right. We're keep listening. We'll get there. So, eventually, and the thing is too, is I think and maybe this is just my bias, but I think the 2 of us talking to each other is rather interesting. I know we have fun. It was funny because we just got back from a walk, and we banter while we're walking, and we have fun, and we talk about stupid stuff, and
enjoy the life a little bit.
Right, but I think that's kind of one of the things that makes the show interesting, and so we'd gotten a lot of feedback that we loved the banter between the 2 of you, and so we decided, let's cut out the news, let's just talk about a topic, and let's just talk about that for 45 minutes.
If there's something in the news that inspires an episode, and it just inspires a topic for an episode, it's no longer we're reporting articles from other people, essentially.
Or, if somebody says, hey, I've got a question about this, then we'll actually turn it into a full episode.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it was really hard to try to get it into this little Q&A segment.
And, I think another big change, too, is rather recent, is we've started doing occasional interviews where we'll limit it to 1 a month. And it's essentially people that we find interesting that we think can provide value to our audience.
And if you think you might be one of those people, send us an email at support@smallbizlife.com. It's always funny because we get pitched a lot to interview people on the show. And we're very selective. We're not looking for big names. We're looking for people who we find interesting. So, and I think it's been a lot of fun. The people we've interviewed so far, it's been fun.
And it's kind of, we need to find you interesting and think that you can provide value to our audience. It needs to be those 2 things.
Yeah. And we don't care how big your audience is. We don't care if you're just starting out.
You could play Tyrion Lannister, unless it's going to bring value to our audience. We won't put you on here, and we dare you to try.
That'd be cool.
We'd bring him on completely.
Maybe your show. But I totally want to co-host that show if we brought him on your show. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, if you're listening.
Which I'm sure you are.
Peter, if you're listening,
call.
Give us a call. Okay. See, this is what we do. So, I think when we also started, we were going to launch a really high end course that taught people how to run their finances and their business. And we realized that that wasn't what people wanted. Even though it's funny because we got a lot of feedback, that's what people told us they wanted. And that's where we kind of came up with that. We've talked about it a couple times when we talk about like launching products. Don't give people what they say they want. Listen to what they need.
And it became obvious when we realized that we were wrong on what people wanted, because the thing is, when you're a small business owner, which you probably are if you're listening to the show, you're really busy. You know, and sometimes it gets blurry between life and work, and it feels like you're going all of the time. And so to sign up for something where it's like 120 hours of content that you need to get good at something is not appealing.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the content of the course was all recorded by me. So it wasn't us, you know, and we kind of talk about like what we're doing now. You know, we kind of realized that any product we put out really needs to be us, especially if you're a listener of the show.
Yeah, because really, and that's something I forgot. Originally, I was co-hosting, but it was your brand. And, you know, you would occasionally help me co-host my show when my co-host wasn't around, but that was my brand. And now they're all under the umbrella of Ingram Digital Media because they're really one brand.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it just...
Or one company.
Well, and it, you know, I think it's much more interesting, the two of us together, you know, rather than just kind of me and you would interject every once in a while. So, you know, so you put down on the list 4/5 biz, 1/5 life.
You know, essentially, we did very little life episodes at the beginning. And that was, I think, intentional. We didn't want to make it too much life. But then we realized that some of our life episodes actually did pretty good because of who our audience are, which a lot of them are mothers, you know, or women who are juggling their home life and their business. So we're like, you know, we have to go with who we're reaching, you know, and there gets to be a lot more blurring in those scenarios that I've learned. I did not know before this, but apparently women's life when they're a small business owner blurs a lot more than a guy's does.
Yeah. And, you know, I think we had always intended that this was going to, you know, that the brand was going to be focused for women, you know, because I think, you know, if you kind of go out there, there are a lot of biz shows out there that are, you know,
I'm Chuck McClure.
They're created by guys, right? They're guys shows, you know, if you go into their Facebook group, it's mostly guys. And, you know, we kind of wanted to do something that was a little bit different.
And some of them have great information. Like, you know, you listen to something like Russell Brunson, but he targets young men. And nothing wrong with that. He makes a lot of money. So who's to question him about that? But when you watch his content, when you interact with his content, you have to learn through that lens.
Yeah. Hey, bro. So, you know, that was one thing that we kind of intentionally did. And, you know, but we didn't want the show to be too lifey either, you know, and I think that's changed quite a bit.
I think we found a better balance for it, you know.
Well, I mean, it's funny too, because, you know, we can kind of talk about this when we get to the reality part. We really wanted to educate people, you know, and I think that's something that I think that we needed to do more than that, you know, and the show's kind of shifted in that respect as well. But, you know, it's really hard as a small business owner, you know, you don't have time to like research, you know, what email software to use or, you know, what WordPress plugins you need or, you know, and I know a lot of you're bootstrapping and you're DIYing. You might
not be able to afford to hire someone, but you don't, if you could take the time to research and find the best plugin, you would.
Yeah.
But you don't. Because you need to do the core, the create, the delivers, and the sells for your business.
Yep, exactly. So, and then I think it's funny, you know, we knew that we wanted to leave New England. And I think it's actually funny because you had put in the notes
that was the
Florida.
last choice,
right?
It was Belize, then it was Puerto Rico.
Well, before that it was Nashville. Before that
was in the mix.
But then we went to Nashville in the winter, and it was cold the week we were there.
I didn't find it cold. I was in shorts most of the time.
It was 30 degrees. Yeah. Okay. You know, but we were thinking about kind of, you know, like moving to the South where it was warmer and
then it became more beach.
Yeah.
Then it was like, well, beach, but with internet access, which seems to be more difficult.
Yes, it is. And actually, like just a couple months ago, like we'd gone to Florida and we were scoping out real estate in Florida. So, and so let's talk about the reality.
Yeah.
So, I think that our show has become much more community focused with a lot of heavy banter.
Yes. Heavy banter. There's a lot of joking back and forth. It's still education minded. The point is we want people to learn, but we use a lot more humor intentionally. And it's not it's not scripted in there, but it's just we're allowing our personalities to come out because people seem to enjoy our banter, which is good because I'm not good at being good.
Well, and it's funny because like I've had like clients who I've worked with for, almost 10 years. They're like, do you guys really get along that well? Like, do you really like each other that much?
Yeah,
like,
I guess it's
actually
odd.
We do.
It's just my life, but I don't find our relationship odd, but other people seem to. So
yeah.
Then again, I've always been considered an odd person my whole life. So woohoo me.
But I mean, you figure it's like, like this morning we had breakfast together, then we went for a walk together, and now we're recording together. It's just kind of what we do. But yes, we are actually like this all the time.
Yeah.
We do like actually spending time together, which is why I think the show works.
Yeah.
Well,
after 100 episodes, you would know if we're BSing you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so much you can edit out of a show. And we decided that we were going to like make our own news. So instead of like going out and trying to find out like what people are talking about like in the news realm, I think we listen more to small business owners and what they're talking about. And then we might, we'll go out and do research off of that and find, more in-depth research.
And on top of that too, we do pay attention to what's going on, but that typically ends up more into like Facebook Lives, sort of impromptu, because we read an article and we're like, oh no, our people aren't going to be those people. So we go out and we try and tell people, but the shows are more about what we hear people talking about.
Yeah, which that's the thing. Like, if you don't like the page, you're missing out on a lot of extra content.
Yeah.
Because on both our Facebook page and our Facebook group, we're doing a lot of lives inside of there during the week. That's, kind of additional. That's pretty much where the news content goes now. I did a live this week on the page because there's a new Facebook scam going around. And
she was invited to join.
And I almost got caught in it. So it's let's see. If you search for Small Biz Life podcast on Facebook, you'll find the page.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the next kind of big thing is that we had kind of gone from like the big huge course, and then we thought about doing like a small kind of boot camp, type of course, and then we ended up with Small Biz HQ, which is our monthly membership site.
And once again, where boot camp was the name for the idea that it would get all of the content through you, sort of hoorah kind of, and then we realized that probably wouldn't appeal to the people we're actually engaged with. But HQ was kind of where we ended up, a place for people to be able to go and learn if they need to. Essentially you get a library of educational content that you can choose from as you need it.
Right. And the cool thing with HQ is like it's a low price point, but you're getting like a new course every month.
Yeah.
Because we do a completely new topic every month. We do a live session at the end of the month. So it's kind of cool, plus we do a whole bunch of accountability stuff in the Facebook group for it, but we kind of wanted to do something that had a low price point, but a lot of value, and you're not time restricted.
No.
So as long as you're a member, you can go in, you can access all the content, and there's no penalty. You don't have to keep up with what we're doing. You can kind of watch things in whatever is most interesting for you first.
Yep. And the other cool thing is as we start developing other things, we actually share a lot of that content for free with HQ. And pretty much anything that we do that's going to be inexpensive, we're just going to give to HQ anyway, because they're with us all the time.
Yeah. And they've been, that group, they're kind of our beta testers. So we've shown them a lot of stuff and been like, hey, what do you think of this tool? And actually the focus planner
is a lot better because of the HQ group.
Yeah. That's our current free opt-in. And it was because of them. Like they were like, hey, can you add this to it? Or, can you move this around? And so they were really key. And if you haven't gotten the focus planner yet, you can go to smallbizlife.com/focus and get that. So we'd kind of talked about before that the show was kind of 4/5 business and 1/5 life. And now it's kind of 50-50.
Yeah. And even when we typically do episodes that are more business focused, when we're talking about sales funnels and stuff like that, there's still a discussion of how that affects the life, because really it is one thing when you're a small business owner. You can't escape it. You can containerize things the best you can, but it's really one thing. So even when you talk about sales funnel, well, how does that affect your life? When you're talking about doing something for your life, that will affect your business. So it's really like 50-50 now, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like, I think we've done a lot of episodes on things you can do in your life to make your business better and things you can do in your business to make your life better.
Yeah.
And so I agree it's kind of the 50-50 balance.
And now individual episodes might not be, but overall, for the most part, I would say scientifically calculated at 50-50.
I'm sure. Yes. But and the thing is too, the nice thing with having a podcast is you can kind of look at the numbers and say, people really like topics in this area, and I think that's kind of how we shifted more to life, is we noticed that the life episodes did really well.
Yeah.
And
kind of look at the velocity of downloads for a new episode and go, this one got popular really quick, much faster than the ones around it. So when they stick out, you're like, that was a popular topic.
Yeah, it seems like you guys, and if we're wrong about this, let us know if there are other types of episodes, but you guys really seem to like tech episodes and life episodes. It's like the ones we've done on like sleep and productivity, that stuff you really like.
The basics episodes.
Yeah.
Do well,
YouTube basics, podcast basics, like all those kind of stuff. So, and again, support at smallbizlife.com. If there's something you want us to do an episode on, or if you're in the Facebook group, post it there. We'll try to get that done for you. So I think, when we really focused on educating in the beginning, we're now focusing on inspire, educate, and empower. So we want to inspire you to try new things, educate you, on how to do them, and then empower you to go try it.
Yeah.
And especially like with a lot of like the tech episodes that we do, that's kind of, we kind of start talking about like, why is this important? And then we give you some education about the topic, and we say, hey, go out there, try it.
Yeah. I'm all against inspire, all for entertain. My 3 words are different, but you're the CEO, so I guess you get to choose.
Yeah. So for this brand, I get to choose, and for your brand, you get to choose.
Oh, stop hitting me.
That's right. And people are sitting there going, oh my God, I think she just hit him.
That's a very inappropriate joke. And yes, it was. And I apologize to anyone who was offended.
So sincere. And then, so you have family before location. What does that mean?
The idea was we're leaving the Northeast, but we're less worried about where we're moving because of amenities and more worried about family and access to family.
Yeah. And I think, internet is still very important though.
Well, but that goes without saying because it's not listed.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, so I think, the looking at, okay, we want beaches, although we're kind of looking going, well, there's a lake not too far away. Like,
There'll be like 2 days a year.
But I think the thing that we're also looking at too is we're looking at like cost of living, and because we do like to travel a lot, and that's something that we do. But I think we're looking at different ways of traveling, So, and we'll wrap up with that. The reason why that's changing.
I forgot that show. No, I'm sorry.
So I think it's funny because like over the 100 episodes and interacting with you guys, it's been really interesting to kind of see like what has resonated with you guys and kind of the moments that have stuck out for us.
For us, involving you. So not just things that we've enjoyed, but because of you in some way has made the moments even more special.
So I think, I think the first thing that kind of hit me when we started brainstorming for this episode is coffee is a bean. Coffee is a bean like resonated with you guys so much that every time I talk about food or the fact I need to eat something, you're like, but coffee is a bean.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because like when we
thought it was an amusing little chuckle when we were throwing together the intro. It wasn't, we never expected any of the lines from there to stick out.
No, and coffee is a bean,
especially
like, totally stuck out. Which is funny because like, in the intro of that episode or in the intro to the show, we came up with that because like that's like Jeff asked me all the time, have you had anything to drink today? Have you eaten today? Like those are questions that Jeff asks me on a regular basis.
Well, it's funny too because those are actually two that I've been told by people that occasionally when they've been being bad, they've heard my voice in their head telling them, have you eaten yet?
So I thought that's really funny too, So if you're in the Small Biz Life community, you've probably seen Sin Hendricks'
Our
notes,
favorite pharmacist.
Right. So she does the Pharmacist Answers podcast.
And the Farm Life on YouTube now.
And Farm Life on YouTube. And she does these really cool, like multicolored, drawn out notes for the episodes. Yeah. And that's just, they're so cool.
The first time we saw them, we're like, holy crap.
Well, I think at the first time we saw them, we're like, people are actually learning stuff.
I mean, we were trying to do that, but
right. But it's, but what we do is really fun.
I mean, the extensive notes were cool, but like she takes her notes are not only extensive, but they're really cool looking. So like it really took it to the next level and really blew my mind.
Well, and it was cool too, because like, I'm in like a couple podcasting groups, and one of them is like a women's podcasting group, which is a really cool group. If you have a podcast, you're going to start one.
Is that the She Podcast group?
Yeah. There's a group called She Podcast. It's an awesome group of people. And I took a picture, I took one of the pictures that Sin posted and I put it up in that group, and I just put your podcast matters. Mm-hmm. And people were just like, wow. Like the fact that somebody's like making notes like that.
Making notes at all is cool.
Right.
But like the level of detail, it really, just seeing the notes would have taken me back, but seeing the notes and seeing the awesome shape of the notes really just blew my mind.
Well, and kind of another thing that blew my mind too is like when we started getting letters in the mail from listeners, like not just like emails, but like we started getting cards and notes and letters from listeners. Mm-hmm. And it's like that, like my brain almost exploded. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of like, all right, well, that's cool. I'm friends with this person. I'm like, wait, I don't even really know this person, and like that was so cool.
Or when we went to launch out in St. Louis and we had, Tasha and, people who were so excited because they could meet us in person. And we're like, we're just us.
Yeah, I know. But it's, it's cool because there's something about podcasting, if you want to build like an intimate relationship mm-hmm. with, with your fans, with your customers, podcasting,
those ears, is special.
Because think about it's like you're with them when they're walking or they're driving to work or they're at the gym, they're cooking dinner, and it's like you get to have a conversation with them, and so I think that has been super cool.
Yeah,
so last November, well, actually, let me start. So last October, I went to Experts Academy with my friend Ronnie Harden. Mm-hmm. And when I got back, I started doing coaching with one of Brendan Burchard's high performance coaches. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of the coaching, I kind of said, you know what? I want to look at the numbers and see if we can get Jeff out of his job. Mm-hmm. Because we can't grow this anymore if we don't have more time.
Yeah.
And so, I think it was a couple weeks before Christmas, right?
Well,
it was right before Christmas.
You had that revelation.
Right. But then I put the numbers together, and then I think I came to you right before Christmas.
Well, it was after a meeting at work that really, really annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had no idea what was going on. And at work, where I worked before, they were having massive budget issues. And literally, in all this time, people are leaving and not being replaced, and there's worries of people being laid off. And we hired a manager to go above our director to help us out, and he was talking about how only the strategically important jobs are going to have been replaced, but they plan to start expanding the department again. And I thought of the people who I lost from my department, some of which were invaluable to the agency, and just thought, wow, they have no respect for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
For me or anyone in my unit, for my manager, for the people who've just retired, no respect for what we do. And we did a lot where I worked, for where we worked, but it was internal stuff. And sometimes line people don't appreciate the tools that help them. But I was livid, and I was already stressed out because of the budget issues. And that's when Kristin just like, why don't you leave your job? Which really threw me off guard because I had always just expected that she would leave her job first and then I would leave my job because I made a little bit more money and I'm used to being the guy who's at the day job supporting the wife.
Mm-hmm.
It was shocking.
But, but when we looked at it, and we did a whole episode on this, but when we looked at it, like, my job is kind of part-time and I only work summers if I want to. And, we would we'd get a lot more time in the business if you left your job than if I left mine.
Yeah, there was real sound logic. It couldn't be argued with.
But I know you really struggled with that. You're like, are you sure? Like, are all these numbers right? Like that? No. And, but when we looked at the numbers, it made sense, and I know at least for me, like things have been much better. Like one of the things that I said when you left your job is like, I really want Saturday back. I don't want to work on Saturdays anymore. And I think, it took some time, right? Because you left your job in March, at the beginning of March.
And we went to a conference right away.
Yeah. Yeah, your first full week, we went to a conference. And there was a lot of like catching up we had to do when it was tax season and stuff like that. But like, we haven't really worked a Saturday.
Probably since the end of tax season.
Yeah. And so like, that's just been awesome to just kind of like veg or like, do some housework or do some laundry or, go do something fun. Like, because we were working 7 days a week. And it was just so nice to be like, it's Saturday. Yay. Yeah. I like Saturday. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, one of the huge milestones is when we realized that you could leave your job.
Yeah.
And then I think like when you left your job. Because I remember like you kind of got to the point like close to the end where you're like, I don't know. And like there were some issues with like your retirement stuff. And, they were saying like there were certain benefits that you thought you had that you didn't qualify for. And then they, and you're like, I can't leave. Like, and I can't leave. And like, no, you have to leave. Because you were so stressed out. And that is just not naturally you. So I'm really glad that you got to do that. Because that's pretty awesome.
Me too.
So I think this next one is pretty awesome.
The first HQ sale.
Yeah. It's funny because like we put together this idea and we were launching it January 1st. And so, we kind of like what we did is we kind of like we sold like all through the month of January. And
if you want to see a good plan to not want to follow, that was the one.
That was the one. Yeah. Because the thing is, it was funny because like we put it out there, but we were really scared.
Yes.
And like, I mean, it was new software that we were using. So we were learning the software, we're trying to get everything kind of going. We knew what we were supposed to do, but we didn't do most of it. And when like the first person bought, like I almost fell over dead. Like I'm like, somebody bought it. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And then it was funny because like, so the first month, we kind of did this thing where the live call, we made it open to everybody. And that
was definitely a memorable moment.
And so like, we're on this webinar software that we'd used before. But it used YouTube as a backbone, and YouTube was like crashing that night.
Yep. It was when YouTube Live was first new and YouTube was having issues.
And so like we're doing our big like, hey, we're going to do this once a month and it's going to be awesome, and it's crashing all around us, and like
people can't hear our audio, but at least they can see our text. I'm sitting in the text chat chatting to people. My wife is running to try and find her phone to start Facebook Live on her phone, which was a great idea. Great way to be agile and to put it into the group so people could see it. And so that was the way we ended up going.
But it was like super chaotic because you're trying to like approve people into the Facebook group.
Yeah.
I'm trying to start the Facebook Live. I don't have my slides anymore.
Yes.
Like it was so crazy and chaotic. But we had our best sales night that night. And we were just like, you know what? That's awesome. Okay. You know, and, but, you know, and it was funny because even like, you know, when I had my first sale on Accounting in Focus, because that site is mostly ad driven. But like when I sold my first $8 product, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
Because you're like, look, somebody bought the thing.
There's something exciting about that first one going. You know, I get excited whenever I see sales increase, when I see the dollar amount a little bit higher than I'm used to seeing, or, you know, the ad revenue even going up a little bit excites me. But that first one, there's something so incredibly special for any product when you see the first sale happen for it. Or, you know, especially for Small Biz HQ, that was the first sale for the Small Biz Life brand at all.
Yeah, so that was super exciting. And then, you know, I think for me, like a couple things that aren't in the list, I think recently I won Hartford Business Journal's 40 Under 40, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
Because I had won a 40 Under 40 award last year. That was like a national one for a magazine. And that was really cool. And we got to go out to Indy and kind of be part of like this think tank weekend. And that was really neat. But this one, like to get recognized locally, because Hartford Business Journal kind of covers like pretty much the entire state of Connecticut.
It's like the Wall Street Journal for Connecticut.
Right, exactly. And, you know, so it's kind of cool to be like recognized in your state, you know. So that was kind of a milestone for me. You know, there's going to be like a big like gala event like in September, and I got to find something to wear. That's all right. It'll be fun. I'm going to get all dressed up. It'll be awesome. You know, so that was kind of cool for me. And then, so you got to figure, when we started the show almost 2 years ago, we were, you know, we're both working full time. We had the accounting firm. Now we're starting up this other thing. We didn't really know what we were going to do with it. You know, we had the cats, and we kind of spent the next, like, you know, year and a half traveling all over the place and going to conferences.
Planning our next explorations of fun. I mean, you know, we're two adults. You know, I'm approaching 50. My wife is nowhere close to 40, we'll say. And
hey, I got some time.
You got time. But, you know, the point being, at this point, you know, we've been married for 15 years. Our life has settled into a really good groove.
Yeah. And then, so after tax season ended, we went to Georgia for a wedding, and then we were home for about 9 days, and then we went to Florida for about a week to check out Florida. And then we came home from Florida, and I wasn't feeling great. This was around Father's Day, a couple days before Father's Day. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm really not feeling well. And I kind of started, you know, and took a pregnancy test on Father's Day.
At this point, I have no idea. I'm actually on my phone telling my parents how we've switched our minds. We're no longer moving to Puerto Rico. We're moving to Florida.
And turns out we're having a baby.
Oh.
Well, and it's funny because at first you were like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, really? And it's funny because we've gotten to the point where, like, you know, we've been together for this long.
And a lot of you know, Kristin had cancer years ago. But we've definitely not tried since then to not have a baby. You know, no protection or anything. So we just kind of figured it wasn't in the cards for us.
And so, but it's kind of funny because, you know, when you kind of think about it, we've gotten to this point in our lives where, you know, we're both home most of the time, because even the majority of the teaching that I do is online. So I go into the university like one night a week, plus, you know, I go in for some meetings. Jeff is home, you know, working from home. So, you know, we're at a point in our lives where we don't need daycare. We're both here together. We're at a pretty low stress level at this point in our lives. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe we were too stressed out before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny, like basically, the way we kind of figure it is about 2 months after you left your job, we got pregnant.
Yeah.
So we are expecting a little boy in January. We're very excited. The plan is to name him Eric James. And we've been calling him that for a while, and we kind of like it.
Yep.
Who knows though? But I think that's kind of stuck at this point.
That's the leader.
So, and it's definitely changed things, so it's like we cleaned out the guest bedroom, and my mom's coming to paint next week. And, you kind of start thinking about life a little bit differently. I mean, those of you that have kids, this. And it's definitely made us think about like the business a little bit differently and kind of the freedom that we have in our lives.
Well, that's also too why we stopped thinking about moving to Florida. We have no family down there. It's one thing for the two of us to be on our own, but if we have a kid, we want him to be able to know like his aunt or aunts, I guess, and and as much of the family as they can. So definitely changed our priority.
But I think it's been. I think it would have been much more stressful had this happened 8 years ago, 7 years ago, because we were both working, and
already stressed out.
Yep. So it's kind of interesting because, it seems like this is kind of the perfect time in our life for this to happen, so
we're past cancer. We've got rid of the horrendous consumer debt we had. I mean,
And that's the thing. It's like, we're in a good place financially. We're in a good place in our lives. We're in a good place with the business. And so, we're super excited, So it just kind of amazes me, like when we started thinking about doing this episode, how much our lives have changed.
In the short time it's really been on.
Yeah. So, we went from, both working full time with one side business, kind of trying to figure out we wanted to start this other thing, but we didn't really know what it was going to look like. Like kids were just not even, it's like, I think we kind of both gotten to the point where we were like, okay, we can't have kids. So we're just going to, kind of almost joke about the fact that we're not having kids, and we were going to be, dinks for the rest of our lives.
Yep.
And we would kind of, come to that realization. And now it's like, okay, we're planning to be parents. We've got this business. We're home, and it's cool because we're still having a really good time.
Yep.
So, what we would love from you guys, like if there are moments that we've forgotten,
or for you,
or things that stuck out for you, if there are any episodes that have just you've really liked, or even if there's something we haven't done an episode on yet, that you would find helpful. Yeah. Reach out to us, either support at smallbizlife.com or, post it in our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/smallbizlife.
Or write in the comments of this episode on smallbizlife.com.
Yeah, but reach out to us somehow and, let us know kind of, what you've learned in the first 100 episodes and what you'd like to see in the next 100.
Yeah.
But
we look forward to traveling that journey with you.
And I want to thank you guys so much for being on this journey with us, because we wouldn't have made it this far if it weren't for you guys, Sin with her notes and, Tasha making comments and
Leanne and
Leanne
the whole
saying,
group.
Leanne saying, thank you for making this episode for me.
Yeah.
And then hearing that from 6 other people, but seriously, the crew in HQ
is unbelievable.
They have supported us and pushed us along and just been there for the whole journey. They were actually the first group that we told that we were having a baby. They actually found out before some of our family members did, which was kind of funny. But it's funny because we talk to them every day, and so interacting with that group every single day just means so much to us.
But whether or not you're part of our membership community or you're just part of the small biz community, a lot of cheering and supporting comes from there too. And, we appreciate each and every one of you, no matter what level, of interaction that we get with you. When you do give those comments, when you do snark at us and joke around with us and enjoy the journey with us a little bit, or learn something for us, or maybe teach us something. It just makes the journey so much better.
Yeah. So,
Deborah has taught me so much about detention. I thought I knew it all after school, but there's even more to detention than you can learn in school.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we want to thank all of you, because we know that a lot of you are sharing out episodes, you're liking episodes, you're telling people about the show, every single one of you, means the world to us. Yeah. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time.
This was Small Biz Life.